Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Tony Rosano, and you are listening to another episode of the world famous, the University Love, the best podcast, ladies and gents, in one, two, three galaxies. But, ladies and gentlemen, you and I, we just call this show Online Marketing Moves. We are coming to you live today, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we have a very exciting episode. Ladies and gentlemen, today for you greedy suckers, today we are going to talk about money. We are going to talk about debt. We are going to talk about marketing you, marketing your business, and why, ladies and gentlemen, everything that looks successful ain't it. Okay? Now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you, but I listen to this program on a weekly basis called How I Built This. I like the show. I like the podcast. I like the host, Guy Raz. He is a good host. It's a good show. It talks about business, talks about building people building businesses. I am in the business of building a little business. A little podcast business, you know, a little business. We won't use the word little. It's a big business, but ladies and gentlemen, you and I both know um business, you gotta you gotta use your brains, you gotta use your wits, and you gotta have some money. But I bring up how I built this because I listened to this story. Me and my homeboy, we listen to how I built this, and every, maybe once a month, every couple months or so, he'll say, have you listen are you caught up on the show? And I'll say yes, and all that. But he sent me this thing. It was this clip. It was this show one time about this liquor company, this called Uncle Nearest. Okay, and Uncle Nearest is a whiskey company. I believe they're based out of Shelbyville, Tennessee. I believe that's where they're at. I went to a restaurant once in Shelbyville, Tennessee, and I ate at the Uncle Nearest facilities. It was a pretty good restaurant. I enjoyed the food, and but that was that. And I heard the story of how I built this. They talked about Uncle Nearest was the guy who taught Jack Daniels, allegedly. He taught Jack Daniels how to distill whiskey, alcohol, whatever. And it sound like a good company, great company. But liquor is alcohol brands are, it's tough to keep that going or have that going or whatever. But my friend sent me a thing. This is the main crux of this conversation. He sent me this thing, and it said that Uncle Nearest was 108 million, allegedly now, $108 million in debt when it comes to um owing money. And apparently they they might get their they might get bought out, they might have to sell, or they might have to shut down. Who knows? But you see the number $108 million in debt, and it's like, wow, that's amazing. And my friend, he said, the owner, the lady, the owner, Fawn Weaver, he's like, she's a big deal on the circuit. And I said, really? And he said, yeah, she has a book and everything, and she's, telling people, what to do with the business and everything. And it got me to thinking, because I've seen, a few months ago I saw where the owner of Slutty Vegan in Atlanta, Georgia, Pinky Cole, apparently their business was going through some problems, and then they had to buy it back or something like that, or however that worked, and it's like, what's harder, maintaining a business or becoming a celebrity and going around talking about business? What would be easier? It's easier, ladies and gentlemen, to talk about business. It's easier to get paid, you know, doing talks and doing a business. than it actually is to run a business. Because to run a business, you have to keep up, and yes, would you like to become a celebrity? It's a tightrope. It's a tightrope. No matter who you are, no matter what kind of business you have. Yes, you want to become, you would like to brand yourself as well as your business. Yes, you would like to get speaking engagements. Yes, you would like to get paid. People, we are Americans. We live in the 2020s. I get it. Celebrity, the seduction of celebrity is higher now than it's ever been before. This ain't the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, where you thought, how can somebody be famous? You can be famous. You can be borderline mentally challenged and become famous. And nobody's gonna say a word. Okay, you can scream, "Charles, your dinner's ready," and get fame. And so I'd say all that to say, when you are running a business, you get the business up, you get the business running. You do not want to take two eyes off of your business, no matter what business you're in. Business can sustain itself. A business can run itself. You would like for your business, the goal of anybody, the reason why, I have, not to say I'm in the business of Fawn Weaver of Pinky Cole or anybody like that. But we are all businessmen. We are all business people. How about that? How's that for you? We are all business people. It doesn't matter if you work a job. It doesn't matter what you do. You make money through a job. You want to invest the money. You run a business. You run a business. You want the business to become successful. You want to keep some money, and you want to invest the money yourself. Quicker you get money, quicker you want to invest that money so you can start having that money work for you. You know that. We all know how that works, okay? But I'm telling you all this to say, ladies and gentlemen, when you run a business, no matter how cute, you brand yourself, no matter how, beautiful, sexy, you dress yourself up, what you do, how many speaking engagements. Ladies and gentlemen, keep your eye on your business, because there's always something going on with your business. Yes, you do want to, yes, you would love to have your business run itself, okay? I used to wake up sometimes, once a week. I check my numbers on the podcast. Every now and then you would see like a big old influx of like listeners. It would be like, oh, today I got, let's say, 1,000 downloads. And it's because, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy this show, and if you start listening to this show in 2025, you can go back into the archives 2 years from now. You can go back 2 years ago, 3 years ago. You can download all 950 episodes. Okay, you can do that, and that it will increase the numbers. So I have something that anybody can go back. It doesn't matter if I produce another. If I go 2 weeks without producing the show, we have 900 and something episodes. So if you like me that much, if you love me, which you should be in love with me. You should be in love with this show. You can go back and listen to not all 900 episodes. It's the same as, the Uncle Nearest. They have a restaurant. They have the whiskey, the liquor. So you can go. You can buy bottles. They sleep. They're making they're making money. But how do you get this far in debt? Sometimes we take our eye off the ball, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we we get into the branding. We get into the celebrity of things a bit too much. It happens. It happens all the time. I remember when Papa John. I was like, man, they gonna try to get rid of Papa John. I didn't know they was gonna hang him on the cross for allegedly being racist, which I don't think the guy is. But I remember he was down on the field during the Super Bowl, and The first thing you saw was Papa John running the pavement and hugging him during the Super Bowl. And it's like, why is Papa John? Why is Papa John down there on the field? But it's cool, you know. But he became a celebrity, and a lot of times you become the face of. He was the face of Papa John, and there probably was people, unfortunately, in his own company, because once you become a publicly traded company, it's really not your company no more. You are, uh, you can get, look, they can, man, you see how they did Ted Turner? As soon as they got the chance to screw Ted Turner over and get him up out of there with the Time Warner, AOL merger, they got Ted Turner right on up out of there. Ted Turner, one of the most creative people, started TBS, started CNN, all of that, Billionaire Ted started it all. They merged AOL. AOL was a puffed up company. The stock market was high on technology companies then. It was puffed up. They bought TNT, one of the worst merger deals possible, and they got Ted Turner right on up out of there. Anybody can get it. Papa John probably got too big for his britches, and they probably was sick of Papa John, sick of him being on the commercials, sick of him driving. Because I don't know about you, but Papa John's. When I first moved to Atlanta, that was the one pizza place I would go to. I would order my pizza from Papa John's because I lived inside the perimeter, ITP. If you're from Atlanta, if you live in Atlanta, you know. I was inside the perimeter, and Papa John's was not far from my house. I did not have a car then. I had a truck, but you can't be really driving a truck around that much. The big rig back then that much, so they delivered to the house. But Papa John's, he was big. He was in all the commercials. He was a brand in he was a brand in the brand. Now, do you want that? Absolutely, absolutely. You listen. If you can brand yourself and you can brand your business, then you are doing God's work. Because listen, hey, the worst thing that anybody can do, ladies and gentlemen, is the power of one income. You listen, it doesn't matter how your business is. It doesn't matter, because just like how they got Ted Turner up out of there, does not matter. Ted Turner is still a name. If somebody say, hey, I want to give Ted Turner $100,000 to speak, he could show up, he could speak. And who wouldn't listen to Ted Turner about media things? Okay, who would not want to talk to Papa John, the guy that created Papa John's? Who would not want to hear him speak at a business conference? Does not matter what you think of the man. I don't think he said anything that egregious. They set him up. It's business. Business is a beautiful game, but business can be an ugly game. Okay, and you always got to be on your P's and Q's, and this is why I'm telling you, whenever you decide, hey, I want to start a business, do you want to be a celebrity? Hey, listen, you would like to drive home the bus. I'm not saying don't be a celebrity, hide or whatever. You would like that, because the better you position yourself, it's like basketball. You play basketball. In basketball, how do you become a great rebounder? You learn position, you learn angles. It's not about who can jump the highest. It's not about how big you are. Strength does help, but if you can quickly box somebody out, and you have the leverage, you have the angle on them, and you can get the rebound, that's what you're looking for, and that is business. So if you can position yourself to be a celebrity, if you can position yourself to be the face of the brand, that is excellent, because hey, you can make if you can make $20,000 going to speak, do that. If you can make money, sell books, anything that will help your brand, anything that will help your business, God bless you. But, ladies and gentlemen, do not get caught up, do not get swept up in the fact that you are a celebrity, and then you start negating, neglecting your business. Because, ladies and gentlemen, there will always be something, always be somebody, always be something. trying to pull you from up under the rug of the business. Ladies and gentlemen, you see it all the time. There are people, corporate raiders. I remember one of my favorite books was a book about Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson and Steve Jobs. They became successful, and Apple became, Apple grew, and man, they got Steve Jobs right on up out of there. Steve Jobs brought somebody in from Pepsi. I forget his name. I have to listen to the book, but he brought somebody in from Pepsi, and he put him in charge of Apple, and eventually they told Steve Jobs to walk. Okay, he was the founder of the company. I'm telling you, there's a point in time, no matter what kind of business, if you say, "Hey, I want to get, I want to become publicly traded," that is not your company anymore. I don't care what you say. That is not your company, okay? I remember Sam Walton. You know, uh, I read the Sam Walton book. Sam Walton, he said they was doing great. They was doing stores. And then he said he wanted to make himself comfortable. So he became a publicly traded company. And at that point, he knew, hey, this is we have to deal with shareholders. Okay, shareholders run the company. You have to remember that. Okay, it doesn't matter how small you start. Doesn't matter if you got two nickels to rub together. You start your business, you get successful, you start to gain, you start to come up. Just remember, you can become a celebrity, but do not fall into the trap of just taking your eye off the ball. Hey, listen, you want you want your business to run itself. It's like a car. You still got to check on your car. It doesn't matter how great your car runs. You got to check the oil. You still got to check the tires. Still do some maintenance on your car. Just don't go away for 6 months. Come back and expect the car to crank right on up. Oh, I haven't touched my car in 6 months. It should crank right up. You think so? I don't think so. Always, always check on your stuff. Check on your numbers. Check on the bottom line. Check on who's running what. You know, give your business a healthy check. Always be checking. Always be looking. And always be mindful of the situation that you're in. Hey, listen, and you really don't want to get into too much. Uh, there is good debt. Now, I'm not a financial planner, so let me be clear. Let me not give you. I am not a financial advisor, but ladies and gentlemen, we all know there's bad debt. We all know there's good debt. Um, if you're able to get a loan for your business, you want to hit the ground running, because you want to start. You don't want to get a bunch of money. I remember people was getting PPP loans, claiming they had a business. They would take pictures of the cars, take pictures of the house they were buying, doing PPP fraud. Ladies and gentlemen, you will get found out. You will get exposed. That is not the way to go. You got to take business seriously. If you're gonna be if you're gonna be in business, be serious about it. Don't f around so much. And I know, hey, listen, the sweet seduction of being a celebrity, it's all nice, people kissing your ass, and all that good stuff, But ladies and gentlemen, keep keep the keep keep the main thing the main thing. Me and my cousin, we like to one of the favorite quotes in the wire is hey man, what I tell you about playing them away games when Stringer Bell decided he wanted to be a downtown fella. Okay, Stringer Bell went from selling drugs, and he wanted to be sophisticated and classy, and he wanted to go mess with them downtown fellas. So he met Clay Davis. I'm sure you might have seen the wire, you might not have. He went down there and messed with Clay Davis. Clay Davis ripped him off. Stringer Bell was upset. Ah man, we gonna kill him. Stringer Bell went back to being Street Stringer. Instead of being, hey man, I'm gonna take him to court. Da 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 da. Nah, Stringer Bell said, nah man, we gotta kill him. And they was like, the Clay Davis, downtown Clay Davis. And of course, his partner Avon said, hey man, what I tell you about playing them away games? What that means, ladies and gentlemen, is very simple. Keep the main thing, okay? Keep your eye on the prize. What got you here is what got you here, okay? You've been running a business. Don't get caught up in the celebrity. Don't get caught up in the I need to travel here, travel there, Hey, how's my business doing? What's the health? How are we looking? How's the numbers? What's going on? You gotta keep the main thing, okay? You gotta keep your eye on the prize. The business is what got you to the celebrity status. It's like whenever you see somebody, you know, when you see a basketball player, and they're commenting about baseball, and it's like, ugh, I really don't want to hear your commentary about baseball. Thanks, but no thanks. I'm gonna give you another example. It's like, I remember Stephen A. Smith. He started off on the basketball beat. Okay, Stephen A. Smith was good at talking basketball. I think he should stick to that. Now he's off, and then one time they put him in the MMA. He was commentating on MMA, and he was terrible. He was terrible at it. You can't, you don't, you're not gonna be great at everything, and that's okay. Keep the main thing the main thing. Hey, the business is what got you to the celebrity status that you're in. Keep an eye on the business, and don't fall into $100 million in debt. I'm just kidding. I don't know what's going on in that situation. I said, oh man, that's crazy. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. We'll be back tomorrow with all new episode of Online Marketing Moves. But until then, my name is Tony Rizzano. Thank you for listening. God bless each and every one of you. And as always, everybody, peace.